Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino, on this Friday, January 11th, 2019. Before I even get started, if you're overly sensitive, I'm going to suggest you turn off this video, because I may say a few things that are going to offend some people. You know, in this land of crybabies, I have to be especially careful these days. Let's start off with this. Another miraculous turnaround here with regard to the stock market. With regard to the Dow Jones Industrial Average specifically, we made a 200-point turnaround. You know, it's just an incredible thing. And with that said, I want you to have a look at something. I've been studying these algorithms, how they work and where they trigger. Well, I published something today with regard to algorithms, cracking the code. I'm going to place a link to that. It's a very short article with a nice chart there for you in the description of this video. If you're interested in seeing how these algorithms seem to be working, go have a look at that. I am sure you are going to find it interesting. So we know, I mean, just going back to the market, it's all algorithms right now, and they seem to trigger at the same times throughout the day. And that had a lot to do with what happened today. This morning, I mean, you want to talk about bond market action, which was off the Richter scale. So many of you wrote to me today. My email box lit up like a Christmas tree when I made reference to that from the video I did this morning. It was really incredible what happened. But again, this is the norm. All kinds of effort going on right now to prop up the stock market. The Fed put underneath it. The presidential put underneath it. There's something else going on here. And it's huge. Again, you don't see, and it's never publicly announced, when a sitting president sends out his Treasury Secretary to 6 of the world's largest banks, which just happen to be on Wall Street, to have a little sit down, and then the president himself offers a buy recommendation, you know something's up. So a lot of effort here to keep this market propped up. In light of what we are seeing here, people, I mean, round after round after round of bad economic news. It doesn't stop. Forward guidance from company after company, bad. Earnings, bad. Doesn't matter. Stocks seem to be holding their own. So you have to know that there's obviously something nefarious happening right now. It makes no sense. The market makes no sense. Let's talk about a couple of other things that make absolutely no sense here right now. Oh, just let me back up. The downtrend still remains. 3 months of it, we are hitting the upper end of the channel. We have not broken out, even despite the miraculous turnaround in the stock market today. We still finished in the negative, I mean fractionally. I think the Russell 2000 actually put on a gain today, but the Dow Jones Industrial Average, I mean a fractional loss. The S&P 500, fractional loss. Same thing for the NASDAQ. They actually went positive a couple of times today, but then managed to, unfortunately, to some, not finish with a nice gain here. All right, so look, let's talk about a couple of other things here before you get into the really sensitive stuff. So we're hearing all this talk about the trade war. All right, first of all, there's no news. Our president is not tweeting about anything. So you know things probably aren't going that well because, you know, he can't stop himself. The tweeter-in-chief tweet storms like you cannot believe. Okay, the silence is deafening. That's number one. Number two, so we all hear that, you know, we're winning the trade war, you know, in the United States. China can't handle it. Their economy's falling off of a cliff. Okay, that's the propaganda. But here's the truth. China is buying up property all over the United States. 2 miles, 2 square miles around my house. They just bought 2 humongous pieces of property for which China is building condos on. Oh, they're going to rent to us or to you. I own my house. But this is everywhere. And it's not just in the United States. China is buying property all over the world. Farmland, big time all over the world, here in the United States as well, and they're also getting subsidies. You know that. It's a joke. We're in a trade war with China. Well, they're willing to buy our agriculture that they're growing. Oh, and then we're going to pay them to do it. Awesome. Great. We're doing real well in this trade war, aren't we? So again, their economy's in shambles. They're doing terribly according to, some sources out here. Meanwhile, they're buying property all over the world. Right here near my house, too. They don't own this land under my house. I do. Okay. Awesome. So let's move forward. So we understand, and there's a lot of conjecture here. So we understand China just landed on the dark side of the moon. A lot of people saying it's fake, it's not true. Okay, let's even just disregard that China may or may not have landed on the freaking moon. They're buying property all over the world, but their economy's not doing so well. They're losing the trade war too. Okay. I don't think so. I'll tell you something else that's going on here that's a big, fat, truth. How about this one? Russia, all right, Google this if you don't believe me on this, is buying huge amounts of Chinese yuan, dumping huge amounts of US dollars. That's because China is losing the trade war. You know that. You obviously, it's just so in our face, isn't it? All right, so now to the part where you may want to turn this off if you're overly sensitive, and I know there's a lot of people here that are sensitive. I hear from them every day. Well, so the border. Let's talk about the border. There's an emergency there, and there's a crisis there. Okay, we've been hearing about this, and I mean from the bully pulpit tweeting, everything you could think about. But our president is failing to act. Okay. Now, let me ask you, if there were a real emergency, let's say you couldn't breathe, you were having some chest pain, that's an emergency, that's a crisis, and you presented to an emergency room, what would happen? The doctor would immediately start to work on you, immediately start barking orders and get people moving. That's what would happen in a real crisis or a real emergency where, our president actually went on prime time to tell us how severe this was. So obviously there's something else going on here. He can't lead. He would fire himself if you were on the Celebrity Apprentice. It's ridiculous here. Lead, Mr. President. If you really believe there is a crisis on that border, this guy wants you to act. I don't want you to sit here and go, no, I gotta wait. Wait for Congress now because it's an emergency on the border. And I can't do anything, no. If he really thought there was an emergency on the border, he would have to act. Otherwise, it's a dereliction of duty. All right? So he's making himself look like an imbecile. Okay? That's the truth. And I don't want to hear any garbage about, oh, wait, there's a bigger plan. There's a bigger plan. Really? If it's an emergency, it's an emergency. If it's a crisis, it's a crisis. The man should act. Period. My God. What is he, pooping his pants right now? I'm afraid of the Democrats. They might do something to me that's really bad. I'll leave you off with that. I love all of you. It's the truth. Look, don't go to your safe place or wherever you got to do to go cry now. And don't write to me that I hate the president because I don't. I want the man to be successful and I want him to act. If it's a crisis, it's a crisis. Do something. Worry about the consequences later. Wouldn't you agree? All right, look, again, I love all of you. And I'm going to leave you off with my famous 3 things. Let's do this together, okay? Because I know you know what I'm about to say. Love each other, care about each other, and be charitable. You will not see this guy until Sunday. I know some of you are happy about that, but that's okay. I still love you anyway. See you Sunday. Over now.